Going to be doing a railing up here on the balcony. Hey, girl. Never mind. But just because of the drop off here, obviously it needs a railing, and to do it myself, I'm going to be using a stainless steel cabling with the 4x4 posts times 3. We'll be using these Simpson fence post anchors. The Strong Tie Easy Base, part number FPB B44. They're the heaviest duty concrete attachable anchors I could find, so we'll be using them. And some 1/8" stainless steel cabling I'll show you all here in a minute. And we'll just be running horizontal runs of the cabling every 3 inches. Code calls for 4 inches, but just to allow for any deflection in the cabling, I'm going to go ahead and put them at 3, and we'll see how that goes. The components for this are pretty simple and straightforward. We've got the Simpson post anchors. The only thing I had to do to them is I drilled an extra hole so the 3-inch spacing would work out all the way up. This hole was not quite 3 inches, and I wanted to keep them uniform. Also got them marked left, right, and center, so I know which one goes where. I don't trip myself up. They'll be anchored to the concrete with 3 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch wedge anchors, which are great. If you've never used those, I recommend those highly. If you have a bunch of anchoring to do to concrete, they work really, really well. The cabling is only 1/8 of an inch diameter, pretty small stuff. But it is stainless steel, and it's actually the 316 stainless steel. It's a little higher grade. They do sell 304, which would probably be fine, but I'm not a fan of redoing things, so I'd rather spend a little extra up front, do it once and be done with it. It came with some cutters, the cable itself did. It might be fine, we'll see, but I do have my own cutters I've had for years. If their cutters don't work, we're covered. Connecting the cable to the post is pretty straightforward. You've got just lag screws, normal right-hand thread, and the other end has a left-hand thread, so when you tighten them in, one going clockwise, one going counterclockwise, but they're still both going the same direction, and you're not twisting the cable. Because if you twist the cable, it'll want to untwist and gradually loosen itself, so that's kind of handy. The only tool I had to buy with these is a hydraulic crimper. I do have some heavy manual crimpers, but I don't know if they'd be stout enough for this. So I did go ahead and buy a hydraulic crimper for crimping those lugs onto the stainless cable. That's the only tool I needed. And we'll see how this goes, but that's the sum of the components, at least for this first end, where the big drop-off is, where I'm using wooden posts. I will be doing some railing on the other side of the porch through the metal columns, but that obviously won't be using the lag screws for that. I have different hardware for that. So let me get the posts seated into these anchors. These are very tight. The 4x4s don't just sit down in there. They'll have to be driven down into there. It's a very, very snug fit, which is a good thing. Just a pain to initially do, but it should make it more stout and stable in the long run. But I'll get these anchored to the concrete, get the posts in them and marked, and we'll go from there. This is what I was talking about with the anchors here. These guys will not just slide on there. Again, which in the grand scheme of things is a good thing. So you just take your hammer and wooden blocks. There you go. All better. use some black exterior decking screws. And they will just disappear right into the post anchor, or post brace. So on to the rest of them, and we'll keep on trucking. For laying out the drill locations, I went ahead and masked all 3 of the rails with masking tape, and then marked them every 3 inches down the rail, and then went back from the edge and marked the center with a little cross hatch there, and that'll show me where to pre-drill for the lag bolts. They actually included a little 5mm drill bit. If you don't have metric drill bits, that's probably about a 3/16. You'd have to do a little conversion on that, but I suspect 5mm is about a 3/16. And that drill bit is just for doing pilot holes for the lag screws. So, got them all laid out here. Every 3 inches. Those 3-inch marks are a little hard to see because I didn't have any light colored masking tape. All I had handy was the blue, so it's a little difficult to see on the camera, but it's more than adequate for marking and positioning the drill. And I'll get these pre-bored and get to working. Okay, now the holes are all drilled every 3 inches up each post. The left and right posts are just drilled on one side because they're just pilot holes. The center is drilled all the way through because the cable has to go completely through that instead of just terminating as it will on the end ones. They're every 3 inches up to the last cable being at 36 inches. The post will be cut at 39 inches, so you'll have a 3-inch space there above the top cable, where a 2x4 rail will go on top to tie them together, and then on top of that will be a little nicer finished 2x6 rail, which will give a finished height of 42 inches. So, on to the next step. Okay, well, posts are in place, anchored into the concrete. You can see the holes pre-drilled every 3 inches on up. That sticker does not want to come off there. I'll come back after the fact with some cleaner or something. I don't want to scratch it up and make it rust or have to repaint it, but again, holes every 3 inches and leftover tape. The center one has it on both sides since the cable passes through. And on the end, every 3 inches. And next up is running the cable. And for unreeling the cable, you don't want to unwind it from the top. You want to roll it, let it roll off the top so it comes off smooth and doesn't twist up and get kinked and stuff. So just a little short piece of conduit, 3/4 inch EMT, flattened out with a couple of screws to hold it in place, and you can just pull it all you want and it comes off clean and untwisted. And the easiest way I found to measure and cut by myself is just using a pair of non-marring vice grips to hold the cable in place, even with the back edge of the wall stud exposed there, and then hang the tape measure in the same place and measure back and mark it and cut it. Made it surprisingly easy to do. And there's the finished product. That's the nice thing about the cable railing. The cables just almost disappear from view. But there's 12 cables every 3 inches from the concrete up to 36. and the wood starts. And the railing is a 2x4 on the bottom with a 2x4 on top, and the top rail is beveled on the edges to dress it up a little bit, also to help it shed water, hopefully. And that is it. You can see the crimps there. Much less obtrusive finished product than the ones that use the turnbuckles and stuff. They just, again, they just almost disappear from view. Appreciate it.